process. And everyone, I think, feels the same, that they are an instrument of the people at that time. The court has decided the individual has certainly had due process and has had an opportunity to review and well, in fact, a lot of people are of the opinion more than ample opportunity to appeal it. And at that point, I think that the execution is completed, and that is the will of the people and the decision of the court. And this institution and myself and the staff are strictly an instrument of that.
Approximately 11:35, condemned is brought out of the holding cell. He's brought in here and strapped on this gurney right here, just prior to the execution procedure. At approximately 11:45, an IV is placed in the arm. There's a continuous drop IV, to keep the veins open prior to the actual execution itself. Then at approximately 12:01, shortly after midnight, the blinds are all opened. The superintendent, who's in charge of the death sentenced inmates at Potosi Correctional Center, enters this room, the execution room, and reads the execution warrant to the inmate. He is also, at that time, asked if he has any last-minute statements that he'd like to make. And the superintendent leaves with that warrant of execution, goes back into the operations room itself. I and the inmate are the only two left in the room at that time. I had visual contact with officers out here and the state witnesses, which will be in these areas, observing the procedure. Just on the other side in front of myself here is the condemned, the inmate's witnesses, if you will, if he so chooses to have any. When all of those things are set, I step to the door and give some form of signal, to the operations room to commence to start the execution procedure.
We are now in the operations room itself. This is the point at which the command is given to proceed with the execution. From this point, we connect into the execution room through a cable system from the actual operations machine. This is the controller. It has the timers in it. It creates the minute between each injection. It is totally self-sufficient, whereas we mentioned it works on the 12-volt system, so it's not dependent on any other outside power source. From the time that the individuals activate the machine, it becomes fully automatic. 4 seconds after the station 1 and station 2 buttons are pushed, the start light comes on for the first injection.
At that time, sodium pentothal is the first chemical to be dropped, and as that procedure starts, when the two executioners push the button simultaneously on the machine, the lights light up that the machine is armed, and the chemical is in process of being dropped.
Approximately 4 seconds later, that injection is completed, the green light comes on, and that kicks in another timer. That timer will hold out for about 60 seconds, which starts, after that 60 seconds, we start the second injection.
Then the next chemical is Tagulon. It's the next chemical. It takes about the same time for it to pass into the inmate's veins.
The other timer inside the machine picks up and holds out for about another minute, and then the last injection starts. 4 seconds after it starts its travel, it usually completes its travel.
And then the last one is potassium chloride. Once again, about 1 minute for it to get into his veins. And at that time, and shortly thereafter, usually within 1 minute, the doctor, sitting adjacent to us right here, will pronounce the inmate dead.
once the execution again is complete, all of this is secured back in the execution room. Everything is cleaned up and stored and put away, and that's completed the actual carrying out of the execution.
After the inmate and the condemned has been pronounced dead, we make sure at that point that he's positively identified. We make sure that the condemned witnesses are escorted out of the institution, and we make sure that all the state witnesses sign the execution warrant, which then is returned to the county where the condemned has been sentenced from. And then we call the coroner in and turn the body over to the coroner at that time. And either the family picks the body up, or the state dispose of it their will.
The process of appeal is integral to the way of life on death row, and it's an endless cloud that hangs over the inmate's life, sometimes right up to the moment of execution.
It's common knowledge that there are many stays along the way by the various courts and the legal system. So when we receive an execution warrant, we assess whether or not, for lack of a better term, we would call that a serious warrant. Once an inmate completes one phase of his appeals and gets ready to move on to the next, if the appeal fails in that phase, execution warrant is issued. In other words, an inmate may receive, between the time he's sentenced and the time he's executed, as many as 6 execution warrants. If it's in the early phases of the appeal process, that execution warrant is really a notice to go to the next appeal.
The appeals process could take around 4 years. The longest I've known it to take is 11 years. And as average is more like 6 or 7. But each case is so different that you have to know a lot about that particular case to know how long it's going to take it to get through the process.
I just got denied last week, so I got one more step to go. And it was kind of disappointing because I thought I was going to get a reversal at that stage, you know. They had my case in court almost 5 years before they ruled on it. And me and my lawyer both thought that with them taking that much time, they were really looking at some things and it was going to benefit me. And turned around and denied me all the way around, you know. So like I said, that was kind of disappointing. I hadn't really anticipated getting denied, you know. I kind of had my heart set on getting reversal, you know. So that kind of knocked me down a little bit. I'm slowly getting back to where I was. I mean, I got you, but there's some things I got to do in the law library, and they don't allow you much time to feel sorry for yourself, you know. I get back in there and do what has to be done.
Time runs out for convicted killer on Missouri's death row. Ricky Lee Grubbs died by lethal injection shortly after.
It was the first time that one of my clients has been executed. This was the first time I ever had to call somebody on the phone and tell them that your appeals are over and you're going to be executed in about an hour. Cedric headed down to the prison because it looked like an execution was going to happen that night.
And he had been prepped and prepared and was basically at that point ready for the execution to go on. He was extremely calm. It was